here is my little office, but I also call it the bill room, because I keep all the bills here. I got them all in a proper little folder here, electric and gas, and I have them in date order.
A lifetime spent as a British civil servant taught Doreen Fawcett the value of a well-honed filing system.
I mean, 35%, 22% down.
She's noticed a puzzling trend across her electricity bills.
This time last year, this is how much I've used, less, 25% less than last year.
And how about the cost?
The cost's gone up, it's $174 for a month. That's absolutely ridiculous.
About 3 years ago, her house was fitted with a smart electricity meter, allowing retailers to see how much power her property is using every half hour.
We just got told we were getting it and that was it.
Along with the meter came a time of use tariff, which charges her significantly more for power at peak times.
Off-peak, 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm normally in my bed at that time. I'm not using electricity. So that might well be off-peak, but I can't see many folk using it.
So you're not getting much value out of that?
Correct.
The Australian Energy Market Commission has mandated that every household in Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia and the ACT have a smart meter by 2030. In Victoria, that rollout has already been completed.
So an old-fashioned meter simply ticks over as you use electricity and you record it from one reading to the next, which might be 3 months or 6 months. Smart meter does a whole bunch of other things. First of all, it can record data in very short intervals. It can be read remotely, which is much more efficient. It also records data about the power quality, which can be very useful.
Anna Collier from the Commission says smart meters can empower consumers by giving them more information about how they are using their energy.
If you learn that this is when I'm using all of my electricity and actually I could shift some of that use, I could have that done at night, or even better, what we would love to see is have it done during the day when there's a lot of solar power in the system.
The meters not only allow power companies to see how much electricity a customer is using and when, they also enable far more dynamic and complicated prices to be charged. And it's not just time of use tariffs that are appearing on consumers' bills.
See this demand line in our bill and think, oof, what on earth is that? That's something that we hadn't realised before. We've had a lot of bad weather this month, I think.
Anne Cooper and her husband Nigel are self-confessed numbers people who carefully examine their monthly bills. After returning home from a holiday, they noticed they were being charged a hefty demand tariff.
When our electricity bill came in, the major part of it, more than 50% of it, was this June demand thing.
A demand tariff is a type of flexible price that charges electricity based on a consumer's single biggest point of demand across an entire month. Say, like the Coopers, you're away for all but 1 day in a month, and then, on the final day, you return and need to use power. It's winter, and you run the reverse cycle air conditioner while dinner is being cooked in the electric oven and someone is doing their ironing. The maximum demand is 8 kilowatt hours that evening. Based on the way the tariff is calculated, the demand charge would be about $60 that month.
So even though we'd been away, you're paying for every day of that month.
With complicated charges come complicated bills.
Now, we want to find out more about it. We then find the superfine print down here and we go and look at that website and boy, that's where you find out you're being charged for electricity you never even used.
Do you think a demand charge might be asking too much of consumers?
Yeah, I think it's a real question as to whether that's actually an effective way of helping customers understand their electricity usage.
Ben Barnes heads the Australian Energy Council, which represents electricity retailers.
We see opportunities to come from having customers accessing more cost-reflective tariffs. Where tariffs are more complex, for example demand tariffs, we don't support those tariffs being mandatory for customers. We see a real risk around punitive tariffs and rising customer bills from those tariffs.
He says retailers are caught in the middle because they are charged complex tariffs by network poles and wires companies, and they pass those tariffs on to consumers.
Retailers are at the end of the line in this process. Network tariffs are developed in conjunction between the network business and the regulator, the Australian Energy Regulator, and they determine the tariffs that a network prices to retailers. The retailer then recovers those tariffs from their customers.
The important thing is the retailers do not have to pass that on to customers. There's a step in between what a network is doing with a retailer and what a retailer then does to a customer.
We see it's unrealistic for retailers to bear the entire network cost risk and pass through flat tariffs to customers.
Today, the Australian Energy Market Commission proposed major changes, including a requirement for consumers to explicitly consent to tariff changes and for retailers to provide an optional flat rate.
I think what we're really keen to do is ensure we can get the right customer protections in place so that customers don't get a tariff shock, that they get a choice with the tariff that works for them.
We agree that it's a concern that customers have found these tariff reforms difficult. That is a challenge, and we need to all do better as a system to enable customers to find a product that best suits their needs as the transition continues.
The troubled rollout of smart meters and tariff reform masks an underlying problem in Australia's energy system that needs solving. The way we generate electricity is changing from round-the-clock coal power to renewable energy that's abundant sometimes and scarce at others. It means the way we pay for that power needs to change too.
Oh wow, look at that. Putting new pricing structures down and shoving them out to households and saying, suck it up, it's not going to work.
Gavin Dufty is the National Director of Energy at St Vincent de Paul and is part of a group called the Energy Charter. Their goal is to cut out much of the volatility and uncertainty that has crept into electricity billing.
That's the job for the retailer, to sort of package up products like they do with telcos, like they do with your internet services, like they do with insurance products.
Gavin Dufty says paying for power should be no more complicated than a Netflix subscription or an insurance premium.
We just need to move from a goods market, selling kilowatts, to a service market where people are selling energy as a service, a simple service for a simple price.
For Adelaide pensioner Doreen Fawcett, an end to the nightmare of bill shocks and soaring prices can't come soon enough.
I do feel it's a big weight because I'm very conscious of the cost, and you think, well, all the other bills have to be paid as well, the gas, water, electric rates, and you think, well, could I cut back on the food bill? And then you think, well, how else am I going to do it?